I feel like I'm at a vendor at a shop getting ready to scam people on stuff. Okay, hold on. Oh, this is like that one guy from Resident Evil, I think. The Duke. Anyways. Good evening, gentlemen. Today I'm going to be going over what you need to build a survival kit. Everybody wants to talk about selling you survival kits, but nobody actually tells you how to build one and what to consider for when you're building one. So I will. So coming from a little bit of survival experience myself, I get lost in the woods a lot. It's actually a very common occurrence for myself. Spent many cold, insufferable nights cuddling with animals of all kinds. So what we got, a lot of different stuff. Let's start like we're reading a book. We're gonna go right to left. Let's just go over the essentials. Start with something everybody likes to talk about, knives, right? If you're gonna be in the woods, you need a knife. Plain and simple, right? Whether to put yourself out of your misery or more likely keep yourself alive, because this is survival after all. You're gonna need a knife. And more importantly, not any of these knives, because these are not ones I would bring for survival. You could bring a lighter knife like this Benchmade right here. It's pretty light. This is a steep country. It's like 6 ounces. I don't know. And then it's got a multi-clip on there, just so I can clip it to my belt and stuff. And then the multi-clip plate, because that's the only thing that actually connects to these Benchmade sheaths. That way you don't just have to carry that around. So the blade on this is pretty thin, so if you're gonna have to chop, I wouldn't technically recommend it, but this is a survival kit. This is not like going on a survival expedition. This would be like something you throw in your pack when you're going out to camping or whatever. So like this is not your main gear. This is your backup stuff, so to speak. This is a Buck Skinner model, I think. A little bit of a thicker blade, not much of a point to it. It is good for skinning animals. Skinned an elk with this one, pretty cool. But the biggest thing I'd recommend, put those over there, is a multi-tool, just because it's a multi-tool. There's a lot of tools in a multi-tool. And oftentimes they're not all useful, but occasionally they are. Like, okay, well, like nothing over here is useful besides the saw. Like the awl right here, if you have to sew things, pretty useful, right? Mainly the fact that it has a knife, a file, and 2 different kinds of saws will be the main reason I'd carry this. Oh, and the pliers, for sure. The pliers. You're gonna need pliers in a survival situation. But they're just handy. Like if you gotta pull out a splinter or something, or you gotta bend some stuff into place. Which brings me to my next point. Wire is another good option. I don't have it up here, but if you want a good thing to throw in your survival kit, bring wire. If you get lost, you can make snares out of it. You can fasten things together a little bit better than you can with rope. Sometimes you get tying with rope, and rope will start to kind of degrade a little bit, and it gets harder to untie. So like you get a couple nights of frost and rain, a couple cold, wet nights out there in the woods. Things start to get spooky. You hear things that are actually there, and you can't untie your rope anymore. Sometimes you can get your wires to work though. So, which also brings me to rope. You're gonna want rope. It's so incredibly useful for all kinds of things. Tying your unwanted camping partners to trees. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can do it. If you kill an animal, you can hang it up in a tree so the bears don't get it. If you're in the mountains, you can make a bow with a bow. You can make a bowstring. Make a bow. What's the fire starter thing? See, I know the survival stuff. I don't know the names. One where you make a bow and then like wrap a stick in it and do the thing. Yeah, I know my stuff. You can fasten things together, obviously. make a smoker. You're gonna get rope. 550 cord's good, but make sure it has these little inner deals right here. Ideally, they're not sticking out like this one is, but I'm too lazy to burn the ends and tie them off and stuff. So bring rope. You'll never know when you need it, but you will need it. You know, it might be a little bit hard to throw in your backpack, but a mini crossbow or slingshot, I don't have a slingshot on me right now, but a slingshot is good for hunting small game. Slingshots are tiny. You can fit them in like a side pocket on your pants. And then obviously ammo is cheap and easy to get. So that's good. Like if you're gonna kill small game and eat those, slingshots are very good. Mini crossbow, wouldn't exactly recommend it. If you do end up in an area like Transylvania with vampires, I definitely would recommend this. But in the meantime, we're gonna put it over here. Light. So when you're in a survival situation, ideally you're not working in the dark, but if you are, you will need a light. Boom. Headlamps or flashlights will work. You gotta watch out. A lot of headlamps are rechargeable, and rechargeable won't exactly help. So like, because obviously you can't just bring a outlet along with you. Sometimes you have battery pack, and in which case it will work, but your battery pack will run out of battery. So, thing to consider, some headlamps do come with batteries, or you could just do a normal flashlight, like this SOG Dark Energy. I think it's a Dark Energy. Still works. Sorry if I blinded you. It runs off AA's. This one does, I think. Yeah, AA's. So just throw a couple extra AA's in your backpack, and this thing will run a couple nights. Pretty good light. I recommend it. A pen, you don't necessarily need the pen, but what you do need is the duct tape, and I had electrical tape. So get a pen, just because like I hunt a lot, and when I'm elk hunting, you need a pen to sign tags. So I take my pen and I wrap it with tape. So I have duct tape and I have electrical tape on my pen. So I can sign my tags, write my fancy signatures, and then obviously have my tape for when I cut my finger open. I can just wrap it up, keep going or something like that. That's really the only time you'll ever need tape. Actually, duct tape is a pretty good fire starter. Keep that in mind if you're trying to start a fire. It'll burn pretty slow, and it's not a super intense heat, but it burns for a while. So pen, whistle. This whistle has electrical tape on it. That's another thing you can do. If you have a bigger whistle like this, you can wrap it in tape. A whistle, because no one will hear your screams in the mountains. So you need a whistle, because it's like the only thing that search and rescue will hear. Ask anybody who's like ever been lost, and they'll tell you, or like been with buddies, and they'll tell you, you don't usually hear somebody screaming unless you're within 150 yards of them. Like gunshots don't even travel that far noise-wise in the woods. So your screams definitely won't. A whistle is also a very recognizable tone compared to screaming. Like nothing in the woods sounds like a super loud whistle. It could be a couple things, like if you're far off and you hear somebody yelling, you might just be like, nah, it's a bird. You know, that's not a person. Why would somebody be lost out here? I'm in the middle of New Jersey. But if they hear a whistle, then they'll be like, oh yeah, that's a whistle. I'm gonna ignore it anyways. But hopefully they won't. This is actually a fishing kit that came in a survival kit I got. It's what are these? Probably size 8 hooks. Like just little guys. And then tiny little, maybe 6 or 7 pound line. And then these are just weights and sinkers. Same thing, I think. Weights, and then I think there might be like a plastic worm or two in here. It can't hurt because this weighs absolutely nothing. Like maybe altogether this is 2 ounces. most. Another thing that works, chew cans. If you chew a lot of tobacco, you can save your cans and put your fishing kit in there. Then you'll have a full fishing kit. You can put flies in, and then you can take your tin and make char cloth with it. Now you're thinking ahead. But yeah, just a little fishing kit. It can't hurt, right? Especially if you're in the Midwest where there's perch or bluegills, it becomes really easy to catch fish. Like you can dig around, find a couple worms, tie this off to a stick, leave it in there. You could even, I mean, these are tiny hooks. So like another thing, trout, you'd probably catch a trout, find a way to catch a trout with this. If it's in a still body of water, I would like my odds with that, especially in like a reservoir. But then again, if you're at a reservoir, you probably can find people. So that shouldn't be an issue. Full body wipes, you don't need them, but if you're out there like a week or two, you gotta smell nice for the search and rescue team. Would you want that to be dirty or would you want to be clean? You know, like an Old Spice commercial. That's what that reminds me of. That's actually just for cleaning blood off my hands when I kill things. The first aid kit, these are like maybe $5, $10 on Amazon. The only thing that's in this is just like antiseptic wipes. Ooh, we'll get to that in a second. Some alcohol pad. What's this? Antibiotic ointment, sting relief, and a couple Band-Aids. Nothing fancy. Absolutely by no means anything fancy. Just like if you get cut pretty bad, you can clean it out. Oh yeah, this part. Needle and then dental floss, not because you actually floss. We don't care about oral hygiene. We care about sewing our pants together when we rip holes in them. So you take a needle, which I just poked through the bag. I'm gonna stab myself now. You take a needle, right, and then you just kind of sew your pants together. Now I know what you're thinking, I don't know how to sew. Neither do I, but somehow I manage to sew my pants back together every time I tear a hole in them. Probably dumb luck, but lucky is better than good, or whatever they say. Just a little tiny tin. Again, you can make char cloth in this thing. With this, I can cut myself, clean my wound, stitch myself back together. Pretty cool. Next, on that same trend, this is just an extra medical kit. I usually put this inside of here. What do we got in here, you might be asking? I don't know. Let's take a look. This wouldn't be necessarily in your survival kit. This is more of the backpacking region. Like this is all survival stuff. This is like, if you're backpacking, this is some good stuff to have. Or like throw it in your truck or car, whatever you drive. Maybe you drive a mommy van to the trailhead. I'm not gonna be mad at you. In this thing, I just got bandages, right? So I can cut your finger pretty good, wrap it in bandages. Or, you know, let's say you get shot. I don't know what you're getting into in the woods. Take some of these bandages, stuff it in there, sew it back together, right? So bandages, good to have. Quick Clot. I'm pretty sure the military even uses this stuff, right? Quick Clot, good stuff to have. Oh yeah, U.S. military proven. If you're a hunter, broadhead stuck in your leg, stab yourself on accident or on purpose, put some Quick Clot in there, you know, and you'll be good to go. What is this? Gauze pad, more alcohol wipes. I love my alcohol wipes. Antiseptic wipe, sting relief wipes, another gauze swab. So a lot of gauze pads. I guess with this, I plan on grievous wounds. Anyways, emergency space blanket. I don't feel like getting this out because I've done that before, but with this, you can wrap up in it like a blanket, like it's intended. You can make a little shelter out of these things too, like a little A-frame type thing, triangle looking deal, and then it'll keep the rain off you. It reflects heat. So another thing, if you're good at building shelters, you can build a fire. So like, let's say your shelter is this. No, this is your shelter. This is your fire, right? What you do is you can take this and put it on the other side of your fire so that the fire reflects the heat off of this and back to you. So you can sit in here and be cozy from your fire that started over here. Infinite uses for this thing, really. Like, what can't you do with this is really the better question. And I'm pretty sure my camera's tilted. I should probably fix that. Extra for the grievous mood. Fire. Yeah, fire. Okay. We got a couple different methods right here. This is for later too. Ferro rod. If you get a ferro rod, don't settle for the cheap ones. Like this is one of the cheap ones. Cheap ones look good because they throw a lot of sparks. Actually, good ferro rods will throw a couple sparks, but they'll be really hot, like me. And so you ship some sparks off that thing, right? And then what you don't want is a bunch of flashy, like a sparkler. If you can imagine one of those fireworks, you don't want one of those. You want like a piece of molten lead, just boom, right into the fire. So I wouldn't recommend a cheap one. You're honestly better off with just using matches, but it's better than nothing, right? So like, if you're just like, man, I don't think I'm gonna get in any trouble. I'm just going on a day hunt for rabbits. I'm just going on a day hike to this waterfall. You can throw one of these in your pocket, right? It's not gonna hurt. Like, throw one of these in your pocket, put the multi-tool in your pocket, grab a flashlight, and go on your day hunt or day hike, whatever you want. This is fat rope. I've never used it, but I hear it works really good. It smells like rubber. Yeah, it smells like rubber. And you can get high doing that. It's like Sharpies. Anyways, basically the way it works is I think it's just a rope that's like been saturated with all kinds of fire starting things. This one was made by Sasquatch himself. In here is cotton balls, which are some of the best fire starters ever. I don't care who you are or what you say. An extra ferro rod, like a little tiny guy. I don't know why I have two. I really don't need either one because I have a lighter. Yeah, cotton balls are good. You can soak them in Vaseline, they'll burn even longer. Lighters, I don't recommend Zippos just because Zippos will lose their fuel after about a month. These Bic lighters, this thing is like 2 years old and it still lights every single time, no matter what, you know? And one thing I like to say, there's a reason when you walk through alleyways, you see Bic lighters on the ground and not Zippo lighters because they're so reliable. In this is just matches and then the little striker thing. And then this is in a fireproof container. They make some that have whistles on them. If you're into that, I guess. I'm talking about search and rescue a lot. How do you get search and rescue? GPS device. So this is a Garmin InReach Mini. I like them. They're good. They're light. They're tiny. Like tiny or average. I could hit SOS right now and have search and rescue at my house, although I highly doubt that they would, maybe they keep me company. I get lonely sometimes. That's all we got, honestly. I mean, what else do you bring in a survival kit? Oh yeah, let's outline some stuff. If you're just going on a day hike or a day hunt, day fishing trip, whatever, you can get away with pretty much just bringing, like if somebody's like, hey man, we're going on a day fishing trip in Wyoming. We're gonna go catch steelhead. I think those live in Wyoming. I'd be like, all right, cool. I would bring all of these. And maybe this, and I wouldn't think twice. Like I'd put this on my belt loop. I'd throw these in my pockets. I'd throw these in my other pockets. Well, I ran out of storage, but basically what I was saying, like, I wouldn't even think twice with most of this stuff, right? Like I just throw this in my pack, I throw some rope in my pack, got this, got the Leatherman, got a light. Like this right here, in a fire starting kit, this could get me through 99% of survival situations. But the thing is, you can customize however you want. So if you don't like Leathermans, they weigh, this one particularly, the rebar weighs a lot. So if I'm like, there's just no way I'm gonna need it, then I don't need it and I won't bring it. Which honestly, you might not need it in some situations. If you have the sewing kit, like you won't need the awl. This is more of like a 10 plus, like 5+ days, 3+ days, you might want to bring the Leatherman. But other than that, like if it's just a day hike, I don't even know I'd think about it, because I could just bring my Benchmade or whatever. So yeah, just before you go out in the woods, if you want to build a survival kit, consider all the items I've laid out in front of you today. Just pick the best ones. I mean, think about like the worst situation you can get into. Think about like the best worst situation you could get into, and then consider what you'd need for that. And then just, you know, if you think, man, why do I need a poncho, 7 ponchos, when there's no rain in the forecast for 6 days? Then, and I'm going out for 1 day, then, you know, obviously don't bring the ponchos. Or if you're like, it's gonna be 70 degrees out at night and 90 degrees during the day, you probably won't need a space blanket. I mean, it's simple stuff. Just think of, you know, do a little thinking about what you'll need and what you won't, and then pack the stuff up and you're good to go. But don't die out there, and try not to get lost. That's actually the #1 step to surviving a survival situation, is not getting lost. Fun fact, 100% of people that don't get lost survive. At least they survive that ordeal. We all die someday. So keep that in mind, get out there, and go have fun. W take.